Hi, my friends. Welcome back to Healing Together, a YouTube channel dedicated to telling the God stories that are going on around us every day. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you haven't yet, please hit that like and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it if you would do that for us. Today, again, we hear from Kevin and Jody more miracles, more struggles, the way that God brings children into their lives. And so, please, let's take a listen to what they have. And I'm sure that God will encourage us, bless us, and we might even find healing together. Let's listen.
When I got pregnant, uh,
Don't
the
bring that
doctor
up.
that I had,
Don't bring that up.
the doctor that I had, Kevin started feeling really bad. And he like, oh, I've got this stomach ache. And, you know, he didn't always used to have that belly or anything. He was very thin. In fact, we used to make fun that he had to run around in the shower to even get wet because he was so skinny. But the reality is that he got sick, literally sick, and I thought, oh my gosh, what's the matter with him? And so I asked this doctor there, and I said, could you please take a look at Kevin?
She's not going to shut up on this.
No,
you got to live through it.
you got to live through it. And so he went in, and later the doc just pulls me aside and he says, he's pregnant too, honey.
Yes. Yes.
You can relate, huh?
Yes.
He was pregnant too. He knew he was having stomach problems, and
Yes.
and the funny thing was we went through a lot of learning how to be parents.
Like
And
anybody else.
Like anybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
kids
beautiful.
don't come with books.
No.
You know, I guess you can read all kinds of books, but
No owner's manual, no operation manual.
that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I had him at a birthing room in Eugene,
Mm-hmm.
and literally had to push for several hours, a couple of hours, until my eyes were black and blue. Literally, I had squeezed so hard that I couldn't even hardly open them. My brother came by to take a look at Alex after he was born. He goes, "What happened to you, Rocky?" And I said, "Well, I think I did too much pushing." But the fun thing is that we got to bring him home within 6 hours, and I was very much no drugs, nothing. I didn't want anything. No epidural, no anything. And so bringing him home, we had a very special cradle that his parents had given to us, and we had a Moses basket. And the really sweet thing was that we went to sleep, and literally as a nurse, I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I've had the baby. Where is he, and why hasn't he cried? I was panicked like nothing else. I thought he had died. And he was just laying there sleeping. Then somebody later told me, well, they go into this sleep phase. What we see here, we never get to really see what happens at home. So that was a cool thing. He was okay, and then his parents showed up to come for a visit. And of course, my parents got
They
to
just
see
lived
him.
up the road about 10 or 15 minutes.
And everybody came to see him. But Alex grew up in spite of all of us. And he's always been gung-ho Charlie. He's always been military minded. Even as a little
Teenager,
kid, we have pictures of him, doing rope things and you know, just doing all kinds of things like that.
Royal Rangers,
Royal Rangers,
Sea Cadets, and
and
all of that.
it was from Royal
Christian.
Rangers, where they went and they would go out onto the mountain, and they would make their own snow forts and make their own boots. He made his own rifle, the whole 9 yards. And he did all of that. He had he just was kind of a leader type of kid, and learned all of that stuff really easily. He was always making boards upstairs. He could entertain himself, literally. On those boards, he would map out all of these scenes.
Gettysburg, the Gettysburg battles.
And he made his own little guys for the military, and acted out what actually happened, which ones came from this side, which ones did that. You know, he was very creative, could entertain himself, always a leader, seriously. Very, very well motivated, good reader, could always read lots of books, paid attention a lot to history because of that. And when he became like 16, he really wanted to go to school. And so I talked to this principal at this Christian school, and she allowed him to come, and she interviewed him, I think, and allowed him to come in. And then when it came time for him to have history, world history, she said, I finally had to turn the class over to Alex, because he could teach World War II, the World War I and World War II better than I could. He knew all of the battles. He knew all of the stuff. He knew who the leaders were, the generals were, what happened, what conflict was coming down, and all of that. And so she turned it over to him. And at the end of that, I thought he was going to go on for another year. And she just said, no, he needs to graduate.
You need to let him
He's
loose.
done. He needs another challenge. And so he actually asked us to go into the Army early.
Yeah.
And we got his transcripts together and all of that stuff, and the Army came and interviewed us, interviewed his school, as I recall, and they did some kind of a test. ASVAB test, and he scored really high, and they were going to give him some kind of senior position and training, and he denied it. He says, no, I want to start at the bottom. I want to be in the infantry first.
General Colin Powell was his hero, and Colin Powell had started at the very bottom.
He wanted to come in at it and learn what the actual grunts, he said. I want to
know what I'm
be
leading.
The grunt. I want to know what they do. And then when he was in Hawaii, he put in for Green to Gold, which is an ROTC Army program, to where you go from being in the Army and they pay for you to go to a university. And they paid full
Everything.
Scholarship, everything for him.
Tuition,
because
room
of
and
how
board.
well he did on that program. And so he got a full ride to go to the University of Portland in Oregon, and he got his degree there. And then he went to officer training school at Fort Benning, Georgia. And at Fort Benning, Georgia, he pretty much took every honor that any of the guys could give. His commanding officer came to me and he says, "I don't know what you did, but you raised this." He said, this guy is amazing. And he said, this one particular award that was given was like a dual sword or something like that. One of the awards was such that his platoon had to vote it for him.
And it was a unanimous vote.
And it was unanimous.
Yeah.
And he said the thing is that Alex had been so trained, like with that Christian scouting and all of those things. He said he would have his platoon out there, and they'd all be going, "Hey, Alex, which way do we go?"
Yeah, he'd have second lieutenants out there,
and he'd have them. He'd tell them, "Well, look, this is what you do. We're headed this way. We need to go down this trail. Blah blah blah," and he would lead them, and he knew right what to do. And because of that, he literally that day. This is one time that I got to go. Kevin had me go to see the award ceremonies. So I got to fly to Georgia and see. I mean, every time I turned around, somebody was coming to me and go, "You're Alex's mom? All right." And just a really proud day for him. It was really sweet. And then he went, I'm just trying to think of what.
Well, he went to Iraq, and then he went to Afghanistan first, as I remember. I may have these backwards.
He got married before
he left. Real sweet gal.
And then she got deployed, and then he got deployed. They were both in the Army. They ended up splitting up because of that. The cool thing was that when he was in Iraq, right?
I think it was Iraq.
He came back from one stint, and he came to our home.
He re-enlisted,
yeah,
and then went back in.
But he had faced some battles there, and unbeknownst to us, one day he was typing something on the computer, and I saw something about some bronze star, and I'm like, "What's going on? What are you not telling me?" He says, "Well, Mom, I didn't want to tell you and have you worry, but he evidently had been commended for the Bronze Star of Valor because he saved his squad. He's now doing well. He's out of the military, and he's working in Oregon.
He and his wife were both.
Yeah, he married a gal that he met in Afghanistan, from Bosnia, and
she's just a delightful woman.
She's a real sweet gal.
Yeah.
And they have a home in Oregon, Salem, Oregon, right at the Capitol, and they both work for the Department of Education there. So, and he frequently gets together with my brother over on the coast, which is a nice thing because my brother is ex-military. He and his wife are ex-military also. We became pregnant with Stephen. After a while, Kevin was asked by his father to come back to Colorado to learn the business of accounting. His father was an accountant, and so we decided that if we didn't give it a try, that he would always regret it, and that his father would always be upset that he didn't try. Kevin is not the kind of guy, though, that can sit behind a desk and just do numbers. He's a creative person. He likes people. He likes to get out and meet people. His photography took him to all kinds of different scenarios and such, and he was good at what he did. And the thing is that, so we decided to move there. We got there, and then we became pregnant with Stephen, and Stephen was born there in Colorado. I had a doctor who agreed that I could have him naturally, like I did Alex, and his name was Dr. Benalik, and he was just the coolest guy because he was a single man. He was an OBGYN, and his work was his life.
He had
always
a
had
white
a bow
beard,
tie.
and he had a bow tie on, and he had a house up in Morrison outside of Denver, which was
with
the
his
way he
mother.
described it. We never went up there, but it was apparently a beautiful house. And he said one of his favorite things was to sit by the window during the winter and read books as the snow fell. And that was the kind of guy he was. He looked
took
like
care of his mom, and
kind of a sea captain, somewhat.
well, he was very, very sweet man.
Very sweet man.
Very sweet man.
Yeah.
That I ended up finding and he was a Christian man.
Yeah.
Also, so that was pretty cool. The job that I got when I was back there was working at Swedish Medical Center, which is where I worked in neurotrauma, and it was one of the largest neurotrauma centers in the United States. If somebody, even in Georgia, had a head injury or whatever, they would be flown to Swedish for their rehab and for their care. We did, all the things with the halo and the different beds and such, and not just brain injuries, but spinal cord and kids with football injuries, being on a vent the rest of their lives kind of thing. It was a very hard place to be as a pregnant person, to be really honest. But persevered through that, and the thing is that he really wasn't doing that great. He did okay being with his dad. He and his dad get along pretty well. Mm-hmm. But anyway, when we had Stephen, the funny thing about it was I went into labor, and I told Kevin, I said, I don't think I better go to work because I'm in labor. And he said, well, do you feel like you're going to have it right now? No, go ahead and go to work. He was just a few miles down the street. And so he went to work, and as soon as he went to work, the labor pains stopped. And literally, they waited until he came home at 5 o'clock, and then they started back up. And that was the funny thing about Stephen. It was the end of December, and we thought, oh, we're probably going to have a New Year's baby. But I said, I really would like to try to go and walk. And he took me to the Red Rocks, was it? Is that what it's called?
Was it up at Red Rocks?
Yeah, we walked up and down those stairs there at that arena.
It's a great big outside amphitheater. I don't know if you've ever been there or not.
That's what it is. Anyway,
Beautiful
they have
theater.
lots of concerts there and such. But so I walked up and down, and they started getting stronger and such, and we went in. And literally, it was the 31st, and I got there, and Dr. Benalik met me, and I got to the point where it was time to push, because of the time before. I said, I'm not doing this. I remember this part. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, I was like, I remember this. I'm not doing this. He goes, honey, you're almost done. Just like another push and you've got this kid. And then immediately he holds the baby and he blesses him. And then he wanted to know if we wanted him circumcised. And I said, well, yeah. And he circumcised him right then, right after that. And while he was circumcising him, he was singing Amazing Grace over him. And just blessing him. We went home 6 hours later, and he did really well. And then we decided by 3 months later, in March, we decided I got another.
Just to move back.
Yeah, he really didn't like Colorado at that point. The taxes, and we both realized that all they do in Colorado is go to the mountain. Well, we were spoiled from Oregon because
we had
in
mountains,
Oregon
we had high desert,
mountains, we had desert, we had ocean, we had valley,
we had
Columbia
it all. River.
Yeah. And so we were like, we need to go back. And I was able to, because of the nursing shortage, get a position right away at a cardiac telemetry unit. And they paid for everything. And my mom rode with me in the car and helped me take care of Stephen and such. So it was a really sweet time to have my mom help me. And we got a great big house there and had a good neighborhood. And little by little, he and Alex were like good buds, really. They, as they grew up, I think they were able to play together and do things together.
But they're very different in
They are very
personalities.
different personalities. And when Stephen got older, Stephen became, Stephen's kind of the funny guy.
Oh, yeah.
He and his dad didn't hit it off very well for a while, just because he was so much like his dad. And I kept saying, it's just because he's like you. And he couldn't see that, but, you know.
As a young kid, she's
As a
talking
young
about.
kid, yeah.
As a young child.
I said, he's just like you.
But as he got into his teenage years, he and Alex and I
would banter.
We would just banter to the point of distraction. Everybody would get upset
Drive
with us
all of
because
us crazy
we were
because
just
they
having
would
such a good
and
time.
laugh and have trying to one up each other with their funny lines, so you could tell the funniest. And they were good at it too. But the thing is that Stephen got into drama when he was older. As a teen, he was very active in his youth group. He became quite a good. He really enjoyed his youth group. They sold fireworks and went to Mexico.
We went on different missions trips.
For a mission. And he enjoyed that. He came back and he was able to get an apprenticeship with a radio station where we were, called Air One. And Air One is, I think, still on the air today, broadcast all over the United States. It's contemporary Christian music, but some of the harder ones like Skillet and such like that. And he really got off onto that. He really did a great job. He got it to where he could run the whole board for them. He was very adept at doing that. And then he got the ability to go to Oral Roberts. He went to Oral Roberts University, and he only stayed for like a year, right?
Yes.
And he decided that what was going on there. I don't know what was going on there, to be quite honest, but it sounded like not so great things were going on. Although he did have a couple of great professors by the sounds of it. And then he came back and went to work he decided that it would be better to keep on working in the hands-on kind of thing and learning the skills that way. And he participated and helped a lot with several of there was always these Christian concerts every summer where they would bring in all kinds of different artists up in where did they have that? It was kind of like across the Columbia.
Over at the Stonehenge up in Washington.
Yeah.
We have up in Washington, just on the other side of the river. It overlooks the river, and it's a Stonehenge thing where you can go and.
But he helped with that a lot. He had some good friends with that. He had some other good friends, but to this day, we love him. I pray for him all the time.
All the time, yeah, we both do.
All the time, and we try to keep hearing where he's at, and I really believe that God has His hand on him. That young man is supposed to be ministering to children.
Yeah.
He has a very, very tender heart. God told me that a long time ago when he was a teen. He said that young man is going to be, even though he's really tall, he said he's going to be a giant of a man that will get down and minister to the little ones.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we're going to end it for today. That seemed like a good place to take a break, and we'll come back next time to hear more of what Kevin and Jody have for us and what God has done in their lives. It is quite a story. I'm sure that you believe that. I hope that you found some encouragement, and I hope that you can take a little bit of a smile along with you in life because you've listened to that. Don't forget to go to the descriptions box and look at the descriptions to the books and check one out. If you can, if you're able, go ahead and purchase one of those. We would appreciate you supporting Kevin and Jody in that. That would be really great. If you haven't, hit that like button today. If you have not yet subscribed, please do. We would appreciate your involvement in our channel. That really helps us out. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm praying that you have a blessed day, and we'll give God the glory for all of that. God bless.